All right, let's dive right in. Today, we're going way beyond that familiar double helix to tackle a huge idea, one that really challenges what we thought we knew about our DNA. For so long, we've heard that our DNA is our destiny. Well, we're about to find out that life's code is way more mysterious and a lot more dynamic than we ever gave it credit for. You know the story, right? For decades, it was this really compelling, simple narrative. You are your DNA. That's it. Your genome was basically a fixed blueprint. It decided who you were, what you'd become. Biology was destiny. It was a neat little package, sure, but also incredibly rigid. Well, that whole story is starting to change, and in a really big way. We're now shifting our thinking from DNA as this rigid architect's blueprint to something more like a dynamic musical script. And that difference? It's everything. Think about it. A blueprint is fixed, it's final. But a script is waiting for a performer. It's open to interpretation. It's not about a destiny that's already coded. It's about a potential that needs to be expressed. So what kicked off this huge shift in thinking? Well, one of the first really big clues came from this amazing field called epigenetics. And this is where the old story really starts to unravel. So, what is epigenetics? In a nutshell, it's the study of how your environment and your behaviors can actually change how your genes work. It reveals that our genes have, like, volume knobs. Just because you have a certain gene doesn't automatically mean it's turned on. Things like what you eat, your stress levels, they can literally turn those knobs up or down, silencing a gene or making it louder. And here's the key part. All of this happens without changing the actual DNA sequence one bit. Here's a really great way to picture this. Imagine your entire genome is a giant grand piano, okay? And every single one of your genes is a key on that piano. All the potential for incredible music, for literally countless symphonies of life, it's all right there, built into the instrument. And this is where it gets really fascinating. A piano doesn't play itself, right? No matter how beautiful or complex it is, it needs a pianist to actually make music. So, if our genes are just the keys, then who or what is the pianist? What's deciding which song gets played? This question is huge because it points to some kind of information, some kind of director that exists beyond the genes themselves. And the plot thickens. The mystery didn't stop with epigenetics. It actually got way deeper when scientists started looking at a massive, and for a long time, totally ignored part of our genome. Get this. For years, scientists believed that 98% of our DNA was basically useless. Yeah, 98%. They literally called it junk DNA. They thought it was just evolutionary garbage, leftovers with no real purpose, all because it didn't seem to code for proteins, which we thought were the only things that mattered. Well, that idea has been completely turned on its head. What we used to call junk is now being seen as a kind of biological operating system. It's this incredibly complex network that's actually in charge. It's managing and directing the other 2% of our DNA, the parts that does make proteins. You can think of it like this. The genes are the hardware, but that 98%, that's the software running the whole show. So what does this all mean? It means we were so focused on the bricks, the genes that build things, that we completely missed the architect. The real secret to life might not be in the physical stuff itself, but in the information, the wisdom that organizes all of it and brings it to life. And this idea of a deeper layer of information, it gets even more wild when you compare us, humans, to our closest animal relatives. Okay, check this out. On a purely genetic level, we are almost identical to chimpanzees. I mean, we share about 99% of our DNA with them, just 1%. That tiny little sliver is all that separates our genetic code. And that's the paradox, isn't it? If the genetic script is 99% the same, how on earth is the final story, the actual performance of being a human versus being a chimp, so radically different? It turns out that 1% is doing some serious heavy lifting. It seems to hold the keys to language, art, symbolic thought, everything we consider uniquely human. And this is where the source material we're looking at poses a pretty profound idea. Maybe this can't just be explained by chemistry. It suggests we should think of the human being as a kind of divine interface, a physical body designed to express qualities that go way beyond what mere matter can produce. Okay, so let's bring all these threads together. We've got epigenetics, we've got the operating system and our junk DNA. Where does this all lead? What does it say about the nature of life itself? Think about a book for a second. Physically, it's just paper and ink. But the story, the actual meaning of the book, isn't found in the chemical formula of the ink, right? Meaning is something else entirely. It's non-physical. It requires a language, a system, and a mind to understand it. The argument here is that the universe works the same way. It's not just a bunch of atoms bouncing around. It's more like a grand library, filled with information waiting to be read. So as we get better at reading this biological script, as we look past the letters and start to understand the grammar, the punctuation, the performance notes, we're not just doing biology anymore. We might actually be getting a peek behind the curtain, a glimpse of the ultimate author of the story, what the source material beautifully calls the cosmic weaver. And so all of this leaves us with a really powerful question to chew on. For so long, we thought DNA was the author of life. But what if we were wrong? What if we mistook the script for the writer? Is DNA the ultimate source, or is it something even more incredible? A stunningly complex interface, a bridge between the physical stuff we can measure and the lived reality of being conscious, of finding meaning. It's a mystery that we're only just beginning to explore.